we are getting into our review of the movie overall here. I liked this movie. I think it's pretty good. I think it's really well acted. Yaphet Kotto and Anthony Quinn both really being standout. Both the actors playing Jim and Joe I thought were very good as well. But the main issue I have with this movie, because we're following so many different people, because we're following the Italian gangs, because we're following Doc and Chevy and the Black Gang, because we're following the criminals, and because we're following the cops, we do kind of lose that relationship between those two cops a bit. It feels like there should be more with the two of them, because the scenes that they share are good. Mm-hmm. And there are some good moments of conflict, and it feels like that should be a bigger part of the movie than it is, though. And again, I think the ending is more poignant if that is a bigger focus of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I did think the ending kind of worked, but it could have been better.
Thinking about this now, I think it's interesting that what is kind of a cop movie focused more on the criminals and made not only the criminals sympathetic, but...
Which is one of the strengths of the movie, I would say.
Well, yeah, well, exactly, I agree. But also, you kind of see Doc Johnson as like a... I'm not going to call him like an entirely sympathetic character, but he doesn't want to be doing this to his own people.
He has a good moment early where he stands up to Nick DeSalvio.
Mm-hmm. But you do have the movie focusing on so many characters and trying to get the audience to sympathize with various points of view that you're right, you do lose those two cops. And there are some moments where you can see that Metelli has kind of come around, where he has changed, but there's just not enough screen time for both of these characters.
Yeah, the scene with Henry's widow is maybe my favorite scene in the movie. I mean, that's the scene where you really kind of see Metelli change, not only in his approach to talking to people, but also you see him kind of adjusting to being relatively comfortable to taking a backseat role and realizing we're going to get better results with Pope taking lead here than with me. That's a really good scene.
Yeah, and I would say even before that as well, I'm not going to say that the ambulance scene is a fantastic scene, but I enjoyed it because you can also see the pain and the kind of sadness in Metelli's eyes when Henry dies. He's like exasperated, upset, sad, and you can see that like this guy's just died in front of him. And not only does he feel bad for this guy who was just, who was essentially tortured, but in that moment they have lost all possibility of finding the other robbers and saving them from the mob.
Yeah. And now to pivot back to, again, we're of the same mindset here that it feels like there should be more between the cops. There should be more to their conflict. There should be more to kind of the resolution or to the... Actually, I'm not even sure about that last part because I like that we kind of just see the start of Metelli kind of figuring things out, if you will. But I feel like there should be more focus on the two of them. In fairness to the movie, again, this movie all takes place over about 24 hours. Wouldn't it be unrealistic if like we had like a clear arc of these two guys finally like learning to work, like a Lethal Weapon, where they start out as like odds and then they grow to kind of be partners in crime, as it were. It's like, I think they probably go a more realistic route, but not necessarily the most satisfying route for sitting down watching a movie. But
the thing that they did do, and again, if it is over this 24-hour period, from the minute that Pope is introduced in the movie, Metelli hates him and disagrees with him, and he doesn't even fully trust him. And same with Pope. Pope doesn't like the way Metelli does things. He doesn't like the way he handles things. He doesn't like the way he treats the black population of New York. But by the end of the movie, you have both of these characters trusting each other fully, and they really are partners.
Yeah, Pope saves him at the end.
Yeah, and then even part of the way through the movie when they are at Doc Johnson's place, and Pope is backing up Metelli.
Yeah, that was a great scene. I liked that scene too, in contrast to the widow scene, and because we didn't necessarily go in order. I for the life of me, I can't remember which of the two came first. But those two scenes are both great because we see each police officer's particular style, and we see the other one kind of fall in line and adjust their game plan with it. And in both cases, it works it works in different ways. With Doc Johnson, if I'm Pope, I'm just going to point the gun at Doc while he beats the shit out of Chevy, because I guess that's the way he's doing it. Like I didn't want this, but I have to go along with it for our own safety. And then in the other one, it's like, oh, Pope's going to lie to the widow about how Henry died, and it's like, okay, just so as to maybe get more information out of this, like, okay, I can go along with this if I'm Mattelli. Yeah, I think those are both really good scenes. I like the kind of the contrast with the two of them. You see sort of different styles. It's a little good cop, bad copy, if you will.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's good cop, racist cop.
Yeah, good cop, racist cop, yeah. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think this movie's good. It's definitely not, I don't think it's a masterpiece. I saw it as a freshman in college. This was probably one of the first blaxploitation movies I had seen. At the time, it was my favorite one. As I said at the outset, it's no Human Tornado. Human Tornado is my favorite. I'm sure it's not as good as Shaft. I haven't seen Superfly in forever, just to name a few of the famous ones. I haven't seen a lot of blaxploitation movies, which is in part why I chose one to do for this podcast, because really the only one we've done is Dolomite.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is not a typical blaxploitation film.
Would Black Emanuel count as a blaxploitation movie? Okay.
No. But and then I was actually reading a little bit, and it's up to you, the listener, if you find this discussion interesting at all, because I'm of a torn mind when it comes to this. But there's some discussion of if this even is a blaxploitation film. It's like, well, yeah, it's billed as a blaxploitation movie, but it really has more in common with neo-noirs and crime procedurals, and it's like in The Sympathetic Criminal, that's more of a film noir thing. And it's like, well, hold on. I think we're miscategorizing blaxploitation. All right? Because, Jim, you and I have talked about this, not with blaxploitation, obviously, because we haven't talked about a lot of blaxploitation movies, but exploitation is not a genre. It's a way to market a film.
Yes.
Isn't blaxploitation kind of the same thing? It's not necessarily a genre. Like, they tended to be crime movies. They tended to be action movies about cool, tough black guys that wore pimp suits and stuff, but, like, they don't have to be. I mean,
No.
Dolomite is that, but it's also a wacky, stand-up comedy film. I mean, it's, it's like, I guess I just don't view blaxploitation and neo-noir as incompatible, I guess, just because I don't view blaxploitation as a genre. I view it more as just like a label that, can fit into other things.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, the second movie that we watched is also kind of a neo-noir, but it stars a bunch of Japanese people.
For sure.
What does that mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I totally agree with you. And as far as this movie goes, as far as Across 110th Street goes, I enjoyed it a lot. First time I've seen it.
Oh, we didn't even mention the theme song, by the way, which is probably how I discovered the movie. I think I heard the song, and I'm like, this is awesome, and it's such a specific title. This had to be from a movie or something, and it's like, yeah. Sure enough, Across 110th Street. The song's by Bobby Womack.
That's it, yes.
If you were to listen to the single version or the version that you'll see on Spotify or whatever, it sounds different than the version in the movie. It's also, and I'm willing to bet, because this is around the time I would have seen Jackie Brown, I'm willing to bet shortly after this film, after I saw this film as a freshman in college, I went and saw Jackie Brown because I heard this song was also used for the opening credits of Jackie Brown. I believe that's true.
I mean, I'll believe you. I haven't seen it in probably about 6 or 7 years.
3 episodes in a row was some kind of weird Tarantino thing, right? Because Tarantino is in Sukiyaki Western Django.
Yeah.
Tarantino, he directed one scene of Sin City, and then here he is in this. And also, he's got a bit of a connection to Branded to Kill. I mean, maybe not really, but I just read that, I just saw a list of filmmakers inspired by Branded to Kill. He was one of them. And
yeah, well, of course, Tarantino.
Sure, he's inspired by a bunch of random shit, I guess.
He's quote-unquote inspired by everything, So, yeah. Any Japanesey thing or blaxploitation thing or neo-noir thing, he's like,
he's probably heavily inspired by both these films, to be fair. But yeah, anyways, Across 110th Street, pretty good movie, not a masterpiece, but worth watching. It's no Shaft. It's no Human Tornado.
I don't even know if I have anything particularly negative to say about it, other than the stuff kind of revolving around Pope and Mattelli and the ending.
Yeah, it was a matter of focus for me. I wanted to see less of the Italian gangster.
Oh, he was
because nothing against the performance, nothing against he needs to be a part of the movie, obviously, but everything with the actual criminals, with the robbers, was interesting. And again, they were the sympathetic, they were kind of the heart of the movie. And then everything with the two cops is interesting. Like, and then he's just kind of doing generic gangster movie stuff. Like, can we get a little less focus on him? And maybe, but yeah.
Well, and then on top of that too, like he wasn't that interesting of a character compared to somebody like Doc Johnson.
I mean, it was generic. It was generic.
Yeah, I agree.